Israel is a malignant, cancerous tumor that must be removed and eradicated. The year is 2018, and these were the words of Iran's supreme leader. The crowd roared, "Death to Israel." You've probably seen that footage. Maybe you thought this hatred was ancient, biblical, eternal. Let me show you something else. Babylon, 539 BCE. A different Persian leader stands before Jewish captives enslaved for 70 years. Their temple destroyed, their hope gone. And Cyrus the Great says, "Return to Jerusalem, rebuild your temple, I will pay for it." Same people, two Persian leaders. One freed the Jews and funded their holiest site, the other calls them a cancer. What the hell happened? Here's the truth nobody wants you to remember. Persians and Jews weren't enemies for 2,500 years. They were family. The current hatred? 40 years old. 40 years that erased 2,500 years of friendship. When Cyrus conquered Babylon in 539 BCE, he didn't massacre. He freed people, all people. He sent them home. For the Jews, this was a miracle. 70 years of slavery ended with a Persian king saying, "Go home, rebuild, here's the money." The Bible calls Cyrus the Messiah. Not metaphorically, literally. Isaiah 45:1, God's anointed one. The only non-Jew in the entire Bible to receive that title. A Persian king, called God's Messiah by the Jews. For 1,000 years after Cyrus, Jews thrived in Persia. They became royal advisors, merchants, leaders. Queen Esther, celebrated every Purim, was a Jewish woman who became Queen of Persia and saved her people from genocide. Persia wasn't where Jews survived. It was where they flourished. Fast forward to 1948. Israel declares independence. Iran, Muslim Iran, becomes the second Muslim country to recognize it. Iranian and Israeli officials shake hands. Intelligence is shared. Trade flows. Military cooperation. Into the 1970s, Iran and Israel are allies. Then came 1979. The Iranian Revolution wasn't about hating Jews. It was about overthrowing the Shah, fighting imperialism, redistribution of wealth. Ayatollah Khomeini wrote genuine grievances to power. But revolutions need enemies, permanent enemies. America was too distant. Arab states too complicated. But Israel, small, Western-backed, right in the Muslim world, perfect. After 1979, eliminating Israel became Iran's core foreign policy. Not because Israel had wronged Iran, they'd been allies, but because Israel represented Western power in Muslim lands. Overnight, 2,500 years of partnership became poison. Iranian Jews, families in Isfahan for 30 generations, became suspects. Synagogues vandalized, businesses closed, families fled to Israel, to America, anywhere. The generation that remembered Persians and Jews sharing holidays, sharing neighborhoods, sharing lives, they watched it all burn. And then something even more insidious happened. The memory itself was erased. In Iranian schools, after 1979, Cyrus was still celebrated, too central to Persian identity to remove. But his liberation of the Jews, gone, the temple funding, erased. A generation grew up knowing Cyrus was great, but not why Jews called him Messiah. Israeli education did the same. Persian history reduced to Islamic threat. Centuries of cooperation, ancient history irrelevant. Both sides taught their children the hatred was natural, inevitable, ancient. Both lied. And now, the U.S. and Israel are at war with Iran. February 28, 2026, coordinated strikes killed Iran's supreme leader and over 1,300 Iranians. Iran responded with 500-plus ballistic missiles, and 2,000 drones. 570 dead in Lebanon. 7 Americans killed. The Strait of Hormuz closed. Everyone says this war was inevitable. But it's not inevitable because of ancient hatreds. It's inevitable because we forgot the ancient friendship. Let me ask you something. If you're Iranian, did you know your ancestors freed the Jews and built their temple? That Persia was a Jewish safe haven for over 1,000 years? If you're Israeli or Jewish, did you know Iran recognized Israel in 1948? That Iranian and Israeli officials worked together into the 1970s? If you're neither, did anyone tell you this hatred is younger than your parents? Probably not. Because the people profiting from this war, arms dealers, politicians needing external threats, extremists on both sides, don't want you to know. They need you to believe the hatred is unchangeable, but it's not. Here's what gives me hope. The people remember. Iranians today still talk about when Jewish neighbors shared Muslim holidays, when synagogues and mosques stood side by side, when Persian Jews were just Persians. Israelis whose parents fled Iran in 1979 don't hate Iran. They miss it. The language, the food, the culture. They're furious at the regime, but they don't hate the people. The governments declared war. But 80 million Iranians and 9 million Israelis didn't choose this. Their leaders did. And if 2,500 years of friendship can be destroyed in 40 years, then 40 years of hatred can be undone too. In 539 BCE, Cyrus looked at Jewish captives and saw human beings deserving freedom. He didn't calculate advantage. He saw suffering and ended it. Today, leaders on both sides see only enemies to destroy. The Cyrus cylinder, 2,500 years old, sits in the British Museum. Iranians visit and feel pride. Jews visit and feel gratitude. Same object, different memories. Both true. That's the lesson everyone's missing. Nothing is inevitable. Alliances become enmities, yes, but enmities can become alliances again. The greatest weapon against hate isn't bombs, it's memory. Remember Cyrus. Remember what Persia and Israel were for 2,500 years. Then ask, if they erased that, what else have they erased? What other friendships, what other futures have been buried under propaganda? Here's my final question. What if everything you've been told about your enemies is a lie? Not a mistake, a lie, told by people who profit from your fear. 40 years ago, Iran and Israel were allies. Today, they're bombing each other. An alliance that survived empires' conquests 1,000 years, died in 1 generation. But the people didn't choose this. Their leaders did. Whether you're Iranian, Israeli, American, Arab, doesn't matter. Remember this story. Share it. Tell someone the hatred isn't ancient. Tell them Cyrus freed the Jews and they called him Messiah. Tell them that for 2,500 years, Persians and Jews were family. Because the moment we remember, we take the first step toward making it true again. The war is happening now. But the propaganda that made it possible started 40 years ago, when both sides decided memory was too dangerous. Prove them wrong. Remember, if this changed how you see this conflict, hit that like button and subscribe. Drop a comment. Where are you watching from? Let's see how global this community is. Because if people worldwide can learn a forgotten truth together, maybe there's hope for those who've forgotten it most. Was this war inevitable? No. Can it be stopped? I don't know. But it starts with memory. And memory starts with you. A memory that doesn't forget that 2,500 years ago, Iran, which was Persia under Cyrus, were allies with Israel, and not enemies.